Welcome to Let's Talk Literature. I'm Em,
And I'm Will.
and we're two book lovers who wanted to combine our passions for reading and gossiping and share it with the world.
Whether you're looking for a new book to pick up or a new book friend, you come to the right place.
So grab a coffee
Or a little wine and let's talk literature.
What's up?
What is up?
How are you?
I got my water as always, but are you also going to drink a whole water for the podcast episode?
Maybe I should.
Because that's a part of your 75 booked.
Nice little segue.
Yeah, if you guys didn't know, you guys should go follow Em's personal account, TikTok and Instagram, because she's doing this little challenge. Take it away, Em. What is your challenge?
I am. Thank you for that introduction. I'm doing basically the book version of 75 Hard. I don't know where this came from, but it just seemed like it would be fun to track it on TikTok and, I don't know, get reading back into like the everyday routine. So obviously you can do it however much or little you want to do it, but the rules that I made are every single day for 75 days, you will have 2 reading sessions for 45 minutes. One of them cannot be in your bed. So just a way to get yourself up and doing something. And during those reading sessions, you finish a whole bottle of water, whatever that means for you. If it's like an 8-ounce cup, great. If it's a 42-ounce thing, perfect. And what's the other rule? No purchasing books, which is tough for a lot of people. So yeah, that's what I'm running over on my TikTok and my Instagram. It's while we're recording this, it's day 3. When this episode comes out, it'll be day 5. So it's still so early for you to join. So,
well, I did want to tell you that. So I started my new job this week.
Yes.
So my routine is a little thrown in a loop, but I'm developing a new routine. And guess what that is? You're going to be proud of me.
Okay, let's hear.
I've been waking up at 6 a.m. I've been walking downstairs, doing a yoga flow, meditating, and then reading.
Well, you're speaking my language. And how's that going for you?
So, it's wonderful. Like, actually wonderful. I don't have to be in work until between like 8 and 9. So it gives me enough time to get up, do yoga, meditate, set my intention for the day, if you know what I mean.
We do.
And then I have been reading. Like, I took a book and I've been reading, today I read probably 30 pages. Yesterday I read like 40 pages. And then I eat breakfast, make my coffee, and then I get on my little merry way. And it is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So, and then I also have been reincorporating reading at night. So my nighttime routine has been skincare, teeth care, get in the bed, and then it's no more phone. I get a book, and then I read for a little bit. Then I do my nighttime meditation. I journal. Bedtime. So you have inspired me. I'm not doing 45 minutes of reading on both sessions, but one is out of bed, one is in bed. And it's getting me back into my rhythm. So
Gorgeous.
This is exactly what I needed. So thank you for inspiring me.
You are so welcome. How's the new job?
It'll get used to. Something to get used to. It's not bad.
Okay.
I'm just not doing anything right now because I'm new. I'm doing a bunch of trainings. I will say, though, that the office is giving a bit of a Severance vibe. Very sterile. Very... there's not many people in the office.
Fluorescent lighting.
It's actually warm lighting, which is
lovely.
A little better. Where it's like a mix between fluorescent and warm. It doesn't feel like it's sterile, but it doesn't feel like doctor's office sterile. It feels like a little, I don't know, a little better than that.
A step up.
There are windows, which is nice. Because my last job, I worked in a lab and there was no windows, so not fun. And yeah, I have my own little cubicle. I've been hanging up my little decorations and trying to make it my own. And hopefully, this week is just all going to be training. So next week, hopefully, I start getting to do some stuff.
Good.
So
have you made friends?
Thanks for asking. Yeah, there's not many people. A lot of people are remote or like a lot of people work in different parts of the country.
Got
so the team that I am working with on my location is pretty small. So I do know my team, and they're very nice, and I'm very friendly with them. But yeah, I have like my own little cubicle, kind of keeping to myself right now, eating my lunch by myself and doing my trainings. But with time, I think it'll shape up into something, hopefully.
That's awesome.
Positive. One last plug before we get started. Follow M, follow me, and follow Let's Talk Literature on TikTok and on Instagram.
You said it.
Because our content lately has been chef's kiss.
Yo, Will's been like
so
famous.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Like he's been doing really good on his
grinding.
book talk grind.
I'm grinding.
Gaining a lot of well-deserved traction. So it's lovely to see that paying off.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Let's jump into it. Do you want to give your summary?
Yes, I do. This is my favorite part. For the month of March, we did I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harpman. Deep underground, 39 women live imprisoned in a cage. Watched over by guards, the women have no memory of how they got there, no notion of time, and only a vague recollection of their lives before. As the burn of electric light merges day into night, and numberless years pass, a young girl, the 40th prisoner, sits alone and outcast in the corner. Soon she will show herself to be the key to the others' escape and survival in the strange world that awaits them above ground. Wonderful. I thought there was more, but that's all about the author, which I'm going to hand it off to you. But the next part here is about Jacqueline Harpman, so I'm going to hand it off to you, Em, to tell us all about the author.
Thank you. And Zeus in the background with some ASMR door scratching. So just ignore that. He's fine. Okay. So Jacqueline Harpman, her biography is very important to the story. I think it lends to the idea behind the characters. It's just important. So let's get into that. She was born in Belgium in 1929, and she ended up fleeing when World War II happened. She's Jewish, so she would have been affected very much so by the Holocaust. They didn't go back to Belgium until after the war ended. So I think that the Holocaust is very much like, if you reread a lot of these sections of the book, I think it's very prevalent throughout the entire story. So that's very interesting, and we'll get into that. And she also...
I didn't even think of that, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
So that kind of opens up a whole other
Doesn't
door
it?
Of
I know.
This book.
It's very interesting.
But continue, sorry.
No, you're fine. That's pretty much it. She went to study to be a doctor, I believe, and she ended up having to quit her studies because she got tuberculosis. From there, she turned to writing as a form of, I guess, work and just for her mental sanity. And she has obviously this book and I think 15 others, and this was the first book of hers that was translated into English. But from her biography, you can really tell like she is somebody who's really been through a lot of trauma, the Holocaust, tuberculosis, a woman trying to become a doctor in the 1900s. Like, she has just really been through the ringer, and I think that her experience as a human and as all of those things, as being a Jewish woman, really, really shines through this book. So, yeah, I think this is probably one of the most important author biographies that I've done.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much for that.
My pleasure.
This book was... wow. I may just start and say that like this book for me is 5 stars. I think very easily 5 stars.
I'm not sure yet. I'm at like a 4.5. I think.
That's valid. And I think I could probably guess why you have a 0.5 off, but I want to see first what you say. No, I want to see what you say first. Okay. We'll get into it, and then we'll kind of reflect at the end.
Okay. I like that. I have a question for you, I guess, to kick it off, unless you want to start.
No, go ahead. What's your question?
My first question was, obviously this book is centered around these women escaping from the underground, and it follows the decades as they all pass away. And they're exploring whatever, and time and time again you kind of get a glimpse into like what possibly could have happened, where they could possibly be, but you never find out. Was that something that irritated you, or did you find it to be kind of not important to the story as a whole? Or let me rephrase that, not that it's not important, but finding out wasn't what was important.
Once I got to the end, I realized that the wanting to know an answer of what was happening was meaningless. In the beginning, when we were starting to set things up, of course I was like, what's happening here? They escape. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Where are they?
Yeah.
But as the story went on, the second half of this book is so introspective of the main character and basically existing as a human who doesn't know of a normal human existence on Earth. Like, she's taking this as like, this is what her world is.
Yeah.
And she develops as a human in that way. And she basically is just, it's a fresh start. She has no influence from the past, no influence from anything before, from society, nothing. And I think it's that really drew me in, was seeing how she navigated through her struggles and just basically the obstacles in front of her with not having any experience to back that. So I think as the story went on, I was more focused on her human experience rather than knowing exactly what was happening.
Yeah.
And what was around her.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. And I completely agree. The story, I felt like really at its core was a story about like stripping humans of the things that make us feel like we're human, like the modernity of like, I don't know, how we live, and taking that all away and seeing, okay, we have no memories, we don't have any conversations, we have no way of really telling time, we have none of these things. What at its core makes us human beings.
I just got chills from that, because that is why I love this book so much, is because it started with such a interesting premise and such like a mind-boggling premise, and by the end, I personally, when I read it, I cared about like, oh, what was happening around here, but like, that's not what you're supposed to care about at the end.
Exactly.
By the end, you are taken on this journey with this main character who remains nameless the entire time, which I think is obviously for a reason. It's so that you can put yourself in her shoes. And she kind of reflects a human and not anyone specifically or anyone that has any ties to anything. And so I think that, to answer your question, plain and simple, no, I don't think I was looking for an answer to what was happening or why they were there or anything like that. And I think that's the beauty and also the skill that this author had to write this story the way that she did. I mean, if you told me to go read a book that had no breaks, no chapters, nothing, I would have said, that's not for me. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I couldn't put this book down once I started it.
Yeah.
It like kind of engulfed you in the prose. It was so beautiful. Time jumps happened in paragraphs. It would be like a decade goes by and it's like, oh, what? But it wasn't jarring. Mm-mm. It like made sense. And so the style of the story made sense with its content. Everything blended together. There was really, you get lost in the timeline of things, and you honestly, reading this, you get lost in the story. You don't know where it's going to go. You don't know what the end is. I don't know. I really just love the story. I really did.
I say this book feels like almost like not a fiction book. In a way, it feels like a mirror. Like that is just so like deep and poetic. But like the way that she is written, our main character, she's given no name, and she kind of has these childlike impulses because she has never been taught what humans do, what we're supposed to be doing at certain ages. She doesn't even know her age at any point in time. So it's like, it's just really interesting. You're getting to like experience this firsthand account of like learning as an adult what it is to be a human.
Going back on like the question of, was I looking for something to explain what was happening? I did a deep dive on people's reviews, on people's dissection of the story. And there was one quote that really, 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 really struck me. And I completely, like, it kind of explained my whole experience with reading this story. So my first note that I had written down for this that I wanted to express on the podcast was, in the story, nothing really ends up happening plot-wise. Like, there's no real structure. There's no real, like, beginning, middle, and end kind of thing. It all blurs into one timeline. And there's no answer at the end. But the story never promises you an answer from the start. Like, it's not like it's in any type of genre. This book, it has no genre. I know it's like science fiction, but I feel like there's so many different elements of different genres in this that you really aren't promised anything. And the quote that I found on Goodreads was, and I don't know if you've seen this or not. It says, it is part eerie pastoral dystopia, part a deeply introspective novel about hope, loneliness, and the things that give life meaning. The novel swings between the invigorating feeling of hope and the numbing despair of hopelessness. I find myself wondering at one point if it was supposed to all be a metaphor. The relentless pursuit of answers, of meaning, in a world that ultimately makes no sense. But perhaps I'm overthinking things. So that completely explains how I felt after reading the end of the book. Was that, like, this whole point of this book was like they wanted the reader to be like, I need to know what's happening. I need to know what's happening. And it's basically like reflecting what people experience in their day-to-day life of like, I need to find purpose in my life. I need to find the answers of like, why am I here? What am I supposed to do? What is my purpose in life? No, I just felt like this book was so reflective on your own experience. And anyone who reads this could be like, wow, I think that I really need to reevaluate how I'm looking at my situation. And the last thing I'll say with another quote from the book was that I was forced to acknowledge too late, much too late, that I too had loved, and that I was capable of suffering, and that I was human after all. And my add-on to that was a story of true self-discovery and the meaning of the human existence is what this book was.
This is kind of where the -0.5 comes in for me.
Okay.
Gorgeous. Love this book. I would recommend it to most people. I think a lot of people wouldn't appreciate it the way that it should be appreciated, but that's not taking my rating down at all. I think what's taking it down is it didn't really have me thinking anything I haven't thought before. It didn't make me question myself and like my thoughts. I was able to like reflect on them. Like, it was really well written and beautiful, and it did like pack a punch, but a little part of me was like, okay. Like, I wasn't brought to tears or anything. Like, I didn't feel like any huge bursts of emotions, like, at all.
Now, can you respect how Hartman was able to write this in a way that basically she introduced this idea as like, okay, we're stuck in a bunker. We don't know what's happening. We are being controlled by these men. We don't know what's happening. We don't know what's on the outside. Oh no, we're going to escape. Like, for her to introduce those ideas and ways of thinking that you're saying in a story where people are expecting something else, you know, like, I'm
yes.
trying to, how do I
wait, so here's the issue I'm having. I think that I somehow unconsciously spoiled this book for myself, and I'm not sure how. I have no idea how, but I went into this book somehow knowing I had to have seen a TikTok or heard somebody talk about it or read a review somewhere where somebody had mentioned like you don't find anything out, because I went into it not at all expecting to find really anything out. Like, I expected a little bit, but I went into it with like a really prepared mindset, I think. And I don't know why, because I wouldn't have normally done that. I had to have spoiled it at one point or another for myself and gone into it like unconsciously knowing that. Because I think if I went into it and was so focused on like the first like 1/3 of the book, when you're like trying to piece together what's going on and you're following all of these different women's stories and you're just trying to like figure out what is happening, why are they there, like all this stuff, I feel like once you get past that and you make that connection, like, oh my god, it doesn't matter, like that's not what this story is about. That is like a gut punch that in and of itself. But I knew that that was the thing, and I don't think I'm like this genius that like just knew. I don't think I am. I think I spoiled it. Like, I think somebody told me.
That definitely, because I didn't know that going in. So I definitely had that experience of being like, oh shit, none of this matters.
Yeah, like
what
that's
really
why I think like somebody had to have spoiled it, because I'm not that smart like to know that from the jump. Like I wouldn't have just like assumed that. You're pretty
smart.
But I wouldn't have just assumed that from this book. Thank you. I appreciate that. But no, because I just, like, I don't know. I think that's what. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say during the scene when Anthea dies, right? Mm-hmm. And basically our main character was like, okay, how am I supposed to feel? I don't like to touch people. I don't like the embrace of another human. I don't, I don't want to comfort. But then like later on she reflects on it and she realizes that like, no, I do have those emotions. I do have that feeling of longing, and she did grieve, but she also had the other side of it where it was like she didn't really care about Laura, and Laura was the last person to be with her, and she was like, I really don't care if you die, kind of thing. And so like when those parts happened where it was like, okay, she finally was like, no, I'm, again, ground zero, baseline, has no influence or anything. Those emotions came to her because it's a natural human thing to feel sadness, to feel grief, and to also feel happiness, and to also feel, that person doesn't do anything for me, kind of thing. When those kind of scenes happened, like I remember texting you when Anthea died, and I was like, holy shit, I might cry, because the way Anthea said to her, she was like, I feel like I'm leaving you. I feel like I've been guiding you this whole time, and I feel like I'm deserting you in a way. And she was like, you're not. Like, I'll be okay. This is all I know. And then later down the line, she looks back and she's like, no, like, I really did appreciate her, and I did appreciate what she did for me. But it came with reflection and knowing. Did that have any type of, like, kind of going off of what you were saying of, like, you knew that nothing happened, right? And so you were going along and, like, having that in the back of your mind. Did those scenes still pack a punch for you? Or was it just kind of pretty blunt? Like, it was not as sharp of a...
They definitely did still pack a punch. Like, I definitely think... All right, sorry, we have a visitor. What I was saying was... Hi. They did still those scenes absolutely did still affect me, and I still read them and was able to like make that connection. It's not that they didn't like still amaze me like the way that she was able to write all these things. I think it was just the fact of like I knew that was the point of the story, so I think that the overall impact of the story had lesser of an effect. In no way did any of like the scenes feel less powerful because of that. I think just overall the story and like the structure of it itself was less hitting to me because I knew that. But it doesn't take away from like the powerfulness of the message. I think it's just like the overall experience of the book for me.
Right. Because once I finished reading this book, I was like, this was one of the coolest and greatest reading experiences I've had, because I just kind of left the book numb and like just thinking back of like, oh my God, like what did I just read? And there's so much that you can put yourself into with this. And one of the things I actually wanted to touch on too is going back to how you were saying with her age, and she didn't know how old she was. I really loved how the author focused on telling us that the narrator could not see her as her age because she's had nothing to compare it to. So when she finally got to see herself in the mirror, she didn't recognize how old she was. And I think that that was trying to show that, like, do you know how like an older relative will tell you like, oh, I'm 65, but I still feel 20, or I still feel in my teens, or I still feel like I'm in college, but my body feels like it's 65. I think what that point of this, like where we were in that point of the story, was trying to say that like our world is so dictated by vanity and by how you look and how you present yourself, and you are judged based off of how you look and how you present yourself, that this showcased that without all of that external validation or all that external pressure, she was content in being her age and still feeling young, but she had no perception of what her age was, and it didn't bother her.
I loved that.
So it was, I thought it was actually really beautiful, because in our society, it's like aging seems to be like a bad thing, but in this book, it was something of beauty. And
yeah,
I thought that there was really, I thought it was really beautiful how that was done, and completely reflected on our society of like, man, there's too much going on with pressuring people to look a certain way or to present themselves a certain way, when in reality, if we had none of those pressures, we would just feel as old as we are. You would just be.
We would just be. I loved that point of the book. There's like a quote, I don't know where it is, so I'm not going to read it, but she says like she looks in the mirror and she sees her reflection and she smiles at it and it smiles back, and it was just like, oh,
yeah,
she is so adorable. Like, it was just like, I loved the book. Like, I truly loved the book.
At the end of the day too, because I was talking to Chris about this literally the other day, he said something really deep out of nowhere, and I really appreciated it. And it was funny because I just finished this book and I was like, did you also read the book? He was just like, Will, you have to stop being so critical of yourself, because at the end of the day, all you have is yourself. And I was like,
what the fuck?
What are you saying? And I just like, what? And he was like, at the end of the day, you should just love yourself, or learn to love yourself, because it's all you have in the end. He's like, I could die tomorrow. I could die in 40 years, and it would still just be you. And so it's always just going to be you. And I think that showcases what this book is about.
I think that might have been like my favorite message behind it. Like, finding how to not be lonely with just yourself.
Finding, not even being content with yourself, but finding purpose.
Finding a home within yourself.
Yeah. I think it was just beautiful. I don't know. This whole episode is just me rambling in 40 different directions and trying to make sense of what I read. And I think it is just absolutely gorgeous.
It is. It really was a stunning book. I couldn't agree more. And I think when I was looking through the ratings, because I always click on like the 1-star because I just like to know. Yeah. And I think almost every single like bad review that I saw was somebody saying like nothing happened. Like, it was so boring. And it was like, if you went into the book expecting something, if you went into this expecting something to happen, like, yeah, I could see how you'd be like, what the hell? But
I learned a lot about what I like in reading with this book. And I think I needed that. And I posted a TikTok about this book, and I put this book side by side with Piranesi, which, if you guys really enjoyed this book, go read Piranesi now. Like, move it up your TBR, read it now. It is the same type of vibe as this, the same type of reflection that you're going to have. I did learn that what I look for in a book that I really enjoy reading is not an unreliable narrator, but an uninformed narrator.
Ooh.
Someone commented this on my TikTok. I don't have your right now, or I would give you credit, but you completely opened my mind to so many different books now that I want to read. And I was like, please tell me if you have a book that is like this. I have a whole list in the comments on the one TikTok, so go check it out if you want to read a book that's like this. So that's why I love this book so much, because this is an uninformed narrator to the simplest degree of they don't even know anything about anything.
Just a character who's just figuring it out as they go.
Yeah. So that's why my next read will be Project Hail Mary, because that is exactly what that is.
Oh, very good.
The character starts off not knowing anything of why they're where they are and what they're supposed to do. And then you're kind of learning along the way as they are.
Amazing.
So
Do you have any
I figured
other
that out about myself.
I'm happy you did too. That's a big step. We just talked about what you're looking for in thrillers, and now we have a narrow down just for general what you're looking for in a narrator. Yep. So that's incredible. Do you have anything else you'd like to say about the book before we wrap up?
No, I'm still sticking by my 5-star rating.
I think you absolutely should.
This was one of the most unique reading experiences I've had. It's really short. It is digestible. It's a little dense, like, to start, but as you get into it, you're just completely sucked in. Like, it's so visceral. The prose is beautiful. I just think I really don't have a bad thing to say about it. And this also made me appreciate a story that has no breaks and doesn't have any chapters or anything like that. I always relied heavily on something like that. And this opened my eyes to maybe trying out other books that are also written in this way. So that's about all I have on my side. How about you?
Gorgeous. I also wanted to say this can be part of my wrap up, but I also find it really interesting, like how we started the conversation about who she is, like Jacqueline Hartman, who she is as an author. I find it really interesting to like really pay attention to the author's life experiences and see how they write that into the book. And I just think that her experiences really influenced every part of this book. And if you go back, like if you read this book again, or if you're listening to this and you didn't read it for whatever reason, read it with her history in mind. And it really is quite awing, I guess, to see like the bits of human that you find in like the darkest of places. And I think that comes from her personal experiences, and I think that it is truly such a talent, and I'm envious of her talent to be able to write that in such a short amount of pages.
Right.
She's an incredible writer, and I absolutely will be reading more of her books. I'm going to stick with a 4 or 5 right now. Very well could be a 5-star, because I think that 0.5 is my fault. I don't think it's her fault. Something about it is telling me it's a 4 or 5, not quite a 5, but I don't know. The more I talk about it, the more I love it. So very well could eventually make its way up to a 5. But yeah, overall, super powerful book. One of the most memorable books I've read in a while, and the shortest. So, well, if you read along with us, please let us know what you rated it, what you thought. If you absolutely hated it and you disagree with everything we're saying, let us know your thoughts. We'd love to hear them.
Yes, please. And make sure you are following us on our social media platforms. That'll be TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And also make sure to follow us and give us a 5-star rating on Spotify.
And if you're looking to get more into reading as spring and summer come around, come join 75 Booked. Do your own version of it. Get reading back into your routine. And go check out Will's TikTok that's been popping off. That's it for today. Thank you guys for watching. We will see you next week for our March reading wrap up. I can't believe March is almost over.
I know.
I'm actually going to hang up and go finish reading The Hunger Games. I can't believe that I haven't talked about it yet because...
Oh my God. I know.
Gag. It's so good. I haven't gotten it yet. It's so good.
I have to go get that.
It's so good. I can't even begin to tell you how fantastic it is. Suzanne Collins will be paying my therapy bills All right, we will see you guys next week for our March wrap up. Have a fantastic rest of your Friday and a fantastic weekend. Happy reading, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for watching and listening. Bye.
I love this.